Morning all, thanks for joining me today on Instagram Live. I'm here as part of the Etsy Made Local Hereford week event, which is taking place over on Hopin all weekend. We'll be live until 5 o'clock, so if you'd like to go over to Etsy hopin.to/events/Etsy-made-local-Hereford. You can see myself and all of some of my fellow Etsy makers. There's about 35 of us taking part today. You can see a whole load of products, jewellery, soft toys, knitted items, hats, gifts, homewares. Lots of makers are offering discount codes. So my discount code is Made Local, and it is valid for all the items in my home section for the duration of the weekend. So if you want to benefit from 10% off, head on over to my Etsy shop, which is Poles Apart Lydia, and take a look and see if anything takes your fancy. So I'm going to start off. My background, I actually studied design studies, and I ended up specialising in surface pattern at the University of Central Lancashire ages ago now. I was there from 93 to 96. And then when I finished, I actually started making some cards, and I've actually found one recently, which is an old one that I used to make. But obviously in those days it was pre-internet, so I used to have a real problem in sourcing these card bags. I can't remember where I used to get these from, but it wasn't a case of you could just hop online and buy things like you can now. So it was a very different picture, and I used to sell through craft fairs and through local outlets. I actually used to sell through my local hairdressers, which was quite amusing. But then, and I used to do jewellery making as well. So, and again, I used to sell that at craft fairs, but it was in the days pre-Etsy. So like I say, it wasn't that easy. Then life took over. I had children, twins, who are now almost 21, which is unbelievable. So they took up a lot of my time, obviously, as you can imagine. And then life took another change when my grandma passed away in 2017. Now, at this point, my kids were getting older. They were heading off to uni. I've got a full-time job. I work full-time, but I thought I'm not going to be one of those moms who's kind of sitting at home pining that their children aren't there anymore. So I thought, right, what can I do to keep busy? So I started actually creating something in memory of my grandmother, and I started stitching some felt panels. Now, my grandmother was a refugee in the war, so she was Polish. She was taken away to Serbia. She travelled through Persia, which is now Iran, and then she ended up in the Lebanon before making her way to the UK, where she met my granddad and settled down and had my mother and my auntie. So what I thought was, that's, her story is so interesting, and I really didn't want that to get lost. So I thought I'd create a book for the younger kids in our family so they would know Bapcha's story. So I started off stitching some panels. And I started documenting my work on Instagram, which was the first time I set up my Instagram account, which is poles.app.art. And it was called that, obviously, because of the Polish element. But obviously Instagram is an app, and it was my art on Instagram. So the first one I did was just Bapcha. And Bapcha is depicted as a little bird at home in her beautiful Poland, depicted by some folk art flowers there. But then the invaders came, and her life was changed forever. So there's the dark forces. It was actually Russia that took her away. Anyway, and then it continues like this. And so I did a panel for kind of each part of her journey. So she ended up in the foot of the mountains in Kazakhstan, where she was living with other Polish refugees or prisoners, as you want to call them. And then she went to Persia. So depicting Persia. Anyway, so this is a keepsake, really. So then I had the book printed, and just a couple of those made in memory of my grandma Bapcha. So that started me stitching, and then I started creating other things made out of felt. So felt's a really easy medium to work with. It doesn't fray. It's really bright and colourful. It's dead cheap. It's really easy to work with. So I'll just get an example of something that I've made out of felt here. I started off making some actual felt birds, which I actually use as Christmas decorations now. And then this is one of the larger pieces. So this is actually felt birds, which they're all hand cut. So they're very stylised, obviously, as you can see. There's a goldfinch there and a blue tit and a yellow hammer. And this is actually quilted, so it's quite padded, hanging up on a bamboo strip with cord. So it's quite a nice decorative item for a child's bedroom wall or a nursery. And then there's a spectacles case. Again, that's made out of felt, so nice and soft. Just you're not going to lose your specs if they're in that, are you? So that's on my Etsy shop now. That's the only one left of those. I made some more, and those have all sold out. And then I started mixing the felt with other materials. So I've always liked Hessian. I like the raw nature of it, and I like the juxtaposition between using Hessian and then more luxurious materials like silk and velvet. So again, this piece is actually a stylised goldfinch on the gold silk, stitched onto an old peanut sack. And then this is a frame that my husband made for me. So that piece is on my Etsy shop now. And then this moved on into the large piece behind me. I'm not going to take that one off the wall because it's quite big, but that's actually features 6 stylised goldfinches made out of felt, and those are over-stitched, so I embroidered over those as well. And they are on a gold and velvet and silk background. That piece actually sold yesterday, so that's going to be heading off to its new home in Newport tomorrow, so that's quite exciting. And then I started using more velvet and doing more freehand embroidery. So the first freehand piece that I did was this cheeky little blue tit. I don't know if you can see him, but I didn't draw that. I literally just had some pictures of blue tits around me as I sat stitching, and I kind of just made it up as I went along. So again, that's on some peanut sacking on a very dark blue velvet background. This piece actually isn't for sale. He's one of my favourites, so I'm keeping him. But he is available in a card, a greetings. So I had some printed greetings cards made. There you go. Those are in my Etsy shop, and again that features the design of the blue tit. And there is also the gold crest, which is my other favourite, which again isn't for sale. It's on the wall behind me. But the gold crest card is available in my Etsy shop. And then 2 other pieces which are for sale in my Etsy shop, which my daughter likes this one. So he's a cheeky little bullfinch. I don't know if you can see him, got a very fat belly. But again, he's just freehand stitched, so I don't draw these. I literally just I go where the needle takes me. Freehand embroidered onto peanut sack, and then that one's on a very dark pink velvet background. And then that idea morphed again when I was at a spa with my best friend, and we were actually sat having breakfast one morning, and we saw some goldfinches on lavender. Now, I love lavender, and I didn't know that goldfinches like them, but apparently they do. So this inspired me too, and it's a very stylised goldfinch. I will admit that he probably looks a bit more like a woodpecker at times. But this is actually lavender design. But I've stuffed the back bit like a pocket with dried lavender, so actually as you walk past you get a faint smell of lavender, which is different. And then again, in terms of embroidery, so I've started moving more. Again, these were batchers, so my grandmother, she left me a collection of vintage buttons. So I started thinking, well, how can I use these? And I've started creating a big bed throw for myself. But I've made these little pockets, and I was really inspired by René Mackintosh when I was at university. So I particularly studied the Japanese influence on René Mackintosh, and it's the squares, his idea of squares. So I've kind of been a bit inspired by Mackintosh there. Folk art, you've got the velvet and the buttons. This is a work in progress, so it will be a wall hanging. I'm just waiting for my husband, who does metalworking and woodworking for me, to make me something to hang that up with. And then some more recent pieces in my shop again. Taken inspiration from my garden. I've really got into gardening like lots of people during this lockdown. And I've grown some daisies which are just going crazy in the back garden. So I don't know how clearly you can see this, but that's some olive velvet, and we've got mustard gold velvet there. Embroidered daisies onto a Hessian background, which has been tacked onto this piece of solid oak. So this oak used to be a table. It was an old tabletop, stained in dark stain, and my husband taught me how to use a belt sander. He actually cut these to size for me, taught me how to use a belt sander, So I made these chunky little blocks, and just something nice and decorative and very tactile, so it feels really nice to the touch. Obviously you've got the velvet and the embroidery thread there. And then there's another similar one. So this was inspired by the cosmos in my garden. So my mum gave me some cosmos plants this year. I actually grew them from seed last year, and they went crazy, and they just flower for ages and ages. They're so pretty. So this is just one cosmos head. Again, you can see some embroidered detail on the mustard velvet in the middle. This is on an olive green velvet background with cerise velvet overstitched petals. Again on hessian, which has been tacked onto another slab of solid wood. There we go. So that's the embroidery side of things. And then my mother actually took me on a pewter course making course, just a one-day workshop for something for us to do together. And it was great. I loved it. And so the first thing that I made actually on the course was this. So it was a pewter brooch, and we were asked just to think of something which we could be inspired by while we were there. That she had all sorts of books and stuff, the lady that was doing the course. And in there I found a seed head, a cow parsley seed head design. I thought, oh, that's simple and effective. So that's what I did. I made my first brooch on this course. Enjoyed it so much that I thought, actually, this is something that I could do more of myself at home. So I bought some pewter, which you can just buy on a roll from various craft outlets. And at first, I just used to work it using a biro, which is what I'd done on the course. So, just work it with a biro, put your design in, and then fill it. And then my husband, who is a bit of a charity shop aficionado, was out and about one day, and he came back with a tool. So he found an actual proper tool for me, which is a pen, and it has detachable nibs. So you can, and it came with, I think it was 6 or 7 different sizes. So you can have very, very thin to make very small, thin lines, or you can have fatter ones if you want to make bolder marks. And I actually started making a range of cards using those as well. So I've only got a couple at the moment, because I sold one of them yesterday. But this one's in the shop at the moment, so it's just a small daisy head design. I don't know if you can see that very well there. As I say, it's difficult with the light, but it's so effective. Honestly, it's such a satisfying way of working, because it's quick. It doesn't really allow you to make any mistakes, but if you do make mistakes, it doesn't matter. It's it's not particularly expensive. It's not like working in a precious metal. And again, I've done some larger pictures using that technique as well. So this is one that's in my Etsy shop now. So that is an actual cow parsley seed head design. And what I've done is I've drawn the design on. First of all, I start off by hammering it, because I find that if you don't hammer it and you have a completely smooth surface, it can actually show up finger marks, thumb marks, etc. So if you hammer it, it kind of takes that out of it. So hammer it, then you draw the design into the back. Obviously, applying more pressure, you can use the different weight nibs if you want to create. Obviously, these are a heavier line weight than some of the thinner pieces. And then this piece is filled. So what I do is, once I'm happy with the design, I then get some fine surface interior filler. You fill that, scrape it off, so you've just literally got the small, so it's just filling the grooves and it's not overflowing everywhere. Leave it overnight to dry, and then when that's dry, sand it all off so you've got a smooth, flat area. And I actually wrap this around a piece of cardboard, so it's got an extra 3D effect there. It's wrapped around the cardboard, and then it's actually tacked and again onto another piece of solid oak which came from the tabletop. But that's really effective, and I've sold a few of those at previous Etsy Made Local Christmas markets. Unfortunately, that's not on this year because of the whole COVID crisis. This is why we're doing this digital event this weekend. But this and all my other pictures, they've all got 10% off this weekend if you go to my Etsy shop and use the code Made Local at the checkout, as the buyer of the goldfinch piece did yesterday, and bag yourself 10% off. So never too early to start thinking about Christmas, or treat yourself. Why not? So that's a bit about some of the things I sell on Etsy, but predominantly the things that I sell on Etsy are actually wedding anniversary cards. So my husband likes to have a traditional wedding anniversary gift for each year. Hello, Woven Art, thanks for joining. And I failed many times, so I think it was in our bronze year I ended up getting him spelter. I've had all sorts of issues getting traditional materials. And so because when I started using the pewter foil, I actually found out that it had a very high tin content. I think it's something like 95% tin. So I thought, oh, actually, that's excellent for a tin wedding anniversary, so for a 10th year. So I started making tin anniversary cards and then realised you can get copper foil as well. So I started making copper foil anniversary cards for year 7. There's one there using copper foil. And those started putting those on my Etsy shop and they were really popular. So over time I expanded my range. So now I think I do most uses. I don't do 6 because that's sugar, but I do paper, cotton, linen, leather. Lots of the hearts I make myself. I was actually doing making a load of tin hearts yesterday while I was watching the other makers on Etsy Made Live. But I do buy some in as well, so from fellow Etsy makers. So I buy these little ceramic hearts from an Etsy seller called Black Earth Beads. I buy the porcelain ones from Melissa Ceramics, who's based down in Cornwall. Those are for an 18th wedding anniversary, which is a really popular year. And they're flying out. So I've been trying to increase my range to cover all the years where it's kind of practical for me to do so. And my sales have kind of skyrocketed recently. So just talking about that, thank you, Woven Art. I will try and keep up the good work. So in terms of Etsy, I joined Etsy a while ago as a buyer and then started selling quite a while ago, but didn't particularly sell much. And I can't remember how I first came into contact with the Hereford Etsy team, but anyway, I did. Thank the Lord. It's been absolutely fantastic. Couldn't ask for a more supportive team. So I'm quite relatively new to the area of Hereford, don't really know many people around here, and it's been a really good way for me to meet other people, other like-minded people who are crafty and kind of want to do things their own way. So when lockdown kicked in, I thought, right, this is an opportunity to really kind of go for this, and I've got loads of time, why not try it? So I watched a webinar. I had a week off my full-time day job in April over Easter, watched a webinar on how to increase sales, watched loads of the films that our wonderful team captain Sarah from SH Millinery has created, and thought, right, I'm going to put some effort into this and really make it work, and it's actually paid dividends. So in March of this year, I had 1 order and 28 visits to my shop, and then by June, I'd had 76 orders and 1,105 visits to my shop. So that's an sales increase of 7,500% and a visits increase of 3,846%, which is phenomenal and really good for me. I'm really pleased that people are liking what I'm doing. But it does take effort. It does take time. It's not, it doesn't happen overnight. You do have to keep putting in the legwork and the footwork and making sure that your keywords are right. And one of the best tips I got from the Hereford Etsy team was actually to look at a site called Etsy Rank, and you can see all your Etsy rankings and see kind of where, if you need to improve your listings or if they're okay as they are. That's been really good. Just loads of hints and tips I've had, and just being part of the team, it's really great. You feel like you're part of a community, supportive community. Everyone kind of looks out and bigs each other up online and in the real life when COVID's not taking place. So that's lovely. And yeah, so I'll just watch this space. We'll see where my Etsy journey takes me. It seems to be growing all the time. So I've constantly kind of buying, card bags and cards and stamps, making sure I've always got stuff to post. And that's it. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm going to be live on Hopin. Well, I'm going to be here chatting to people on the chat function all day till 5. Again, I've got the code Made Local, which is applicable for all items in my home section. So if you head on over to Etsy and take a look at Poles Apart Lydia, that's where you'll find all of my work. Or head over to Hopin to find out lots more about my fellow Etsy team makers. And that's all from me, I think. So I've spoken for 20 minutes. I know I do speak super fast. So hopefully anyone watching will have picked up what I was saying. I'm going to go away and work on some commissions today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks for watching. Bye.